Hi, Lisa Dodson here from Serve Master and Tossmaster. A couple of weeks ago, Michael KOSTA, who is a podcast host, ex-tennis pro player and a comedian, and he's got his podcast, Tennis Anyone. He mentioned my product, Serve Master, and me, and thank you for doing that, Michael. And it was in relationship to pronating for the tennis serve. And that there's a lot of confusion about what is pronating, and he was also telling people that they need to teach their kids to throw properly if you want them to have a decent tennis serve. And I'm going to add in there, guys, teach your daughters or any girls that are in your life to throw. You're going to be doing them a big favor. You're not doing them any favors by letting them not know how to throw. So those were biggies on his list of things to do, and they've always been on mine as well. So what is pronating, and why do we do that for a serve? There's so much confusion, and because tennis pros say, well, it's a natural thing, and I've said that before, but I know for everybody it doesn't feel natural when you have the racket in your hand, because you're usually holding the racket incorrectly. And the other part of it is that if you're holding onto the racket correctly, it sets the edge of the racket going up to the ball, and I think that freaks people out because they're going, I can't hit the ball with the edge of the racket. So they move their grip over to like a forehand, and the strings are flat, and now they can hit the ball, but they can't pronate. Okay, so what's pronation? Pronating, a loose definition of it, and an understandable definition, is your hand going from an inside position, this is inside, to an outside position by means of your hand, your wrist, your forearm, your elbow, your bicep, with minimal use of your shoulder. Your shoulder is just what holds all of this onto your body. Okay, so it is going to act, but it's not a twisting factor. Okay, it's just gonna stop everything from happening at this end. So that's pretty simple, isn't it? Hand going from an inside position to an outside position. So one of the drills that I have players do to understand this is to just really relax your hand like this. See how loose I am? Yeah, and I'm just kind of flipping my wrist up and down. And so I'm going to get in a throwing position, which means I'm going to be turned sideways. I'm not going to be standing straight forward. I can still do it, but it's not going to help you for your serve, because we're going to be standing sideways for the serve. So we're going to stand sideways, and we're going to get ourselves all ready. And now watch, I'm just going to, boom, practice this. Notice how I'm coming from here, and I'm just letting my hand go. I'm not trying to control it, because then people start going like this, right? This is not what we're looking for. We're looking for this. So I have to be totally loose. I'm just getting it moving, and I'm letting my hand go out to the side. Now, that's the first thing you need to do before you ever try and hit a ball with pronation. If you can't do it with nothing in your hand, it's going to be really tough for you. So our next thing is going to be to just take a ball and start throwing it. From the backside, it's going to look like this, right? And from the front, it's going to look like this, right? And I can throw the ball really far and pretty hard just using this motion and not using anything much else, okay? So those are the things that we need to do. You can see my hand set up here is going from an inside position to an outside position. It's not that hard. You just have to kind of trust in the process. And I think that's where it all breaks down. Okay, so how do we deal with the serve? So on the serve, I've marked the grip here, and most tennis pros are going to say, hold a continental grip for your serve. Now, I say the same thing, but I'm going to really start qualifying it now, because the continental is there's a big range in a continental, okay? So this is a continental grip, and I'm a V teacher. The V in your hand is going to be over on the left bevel. Lots of people are knuckle teachers, and they go off of the right knuckle. And if that's the case, your right knuckle is going to be on the second surface here, flat surface, okay? So the bevel is the edge. Okay, so there's going to be my continental. Well, here's the news. This is also a continental. This is also a continental. And this is also a continental. And there are grips on either side of those, one of them being the Eastern backhand grip, which you only really use for a one-handed topspin backhand. On the other side, you have an Eastern forehand, a semi-Western forehand, and a Western forehand. But this continental range is pretty big. And so I'm going to be kind of easy on that. We're going to call it a modified continental for the serve, especially if you're transitioning from a very flat grip or an Eastern forehand grip or a semi-Western, God forbid, for your serve. Okay. I've marked a baseball, a tennis ball, and a football, a tennis racket, and a serve master to show you that the grip is all the same for all of those throwing sports. Look at that. It's just the same thing. Serve master has a marked grip for you. I've got my Toastmaster mat here too, because the other important part of this is that you have to be releasing the ball at the right place. So if you equate this action with releasing a ball, right? I wouldn't release a ball if I were throwing it, I'd release it here. I wouldn't release it here. If you equate that with how you're striking the ball, that means your ball toss needs to be out in front to the right, where I would release my ball if I were throwing it. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. We're just going to pretend like we're going to throw this racket over, except for I'm actually going to be hitting a ball with it that's extended above where the racket is. Okay? I think that's pretty easy to understand. Maybe you've never thought about it quite that way. And as far as I'm concerned, this is the only drill you need to do to learn how to serve properly. There's so many ways to take it back, classic, abbreviated, you see pinpoint, all these different things. But one common thing that every serve has is this action, this pronation action that we're taking it and we're isolating it and we're practicing it all by itself, and then we try and put it in with the rest of the stuff. Okay? So, on Tossmaster, I've got my foot markings. I'm serving right now from the deuce court, and you notice I'm about maybe 15 feet from the net, because what I'm trying to do is get the ball down into the corresponding service box by using this pronation, which helps to bring the ball down, right? You got to bring the ball down somehow, and the racket has to go up and over, so that's a big part of it. I've got my deuce court set up with my feet, and there's two markers out here. They're pretty close together. One of them says flat and one says slice. Doesn't really matter right now. If they're both out in front and to the right, because I'm right-handed, I want the ball toss in front of my right shoulder. And so all I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my correct grip, even if it's uncomfortable, in abbreviated position right here, so that my hand and fingernails are back towards the back of my head. My racket tip is out there, my tricep is parallel to the ground, and my elbow is back to the back fence. Looks like a throw, doesn't it? That's what I would do if I were going to throw a ball. Sorry, so I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to start in abbreviated position. I'm set up for my tennis serve. I'm going to have my arm going in the direction of where these circles are, which is typically towards the right net post. And I'm just going to do this part of the serve. Notice the butt of the racket? It's out to the right side of my hand. Okay, that is proof that I have pronated. Okay? So I'm going to do this a bunch of times. I'm starting here, and I'm stopping up here. It looks kind of easy. It's not so easy, because you guys are used to swinging from your shoulder. So it's going to look like this. Right? And you notice there's really no wrist. You can't really see it, but there's no wrist action there. We want to get this. Yeah, and that's pronated, right? So that's not that hard. And don't forget to use your Serve Master for perfect pronation practice. You can do that, for sure. But you have to start trying to do it the right way, right? Don't do it with a full serve. Just don't even try it, because it's really something that you have to isolate. The better you can get this pop going, right? Boom, here. The faster your serve is going to travel. Most of the stuff that we do on a serve just dissipates power. We move around too much, we're swinging too big, the toss arm isn't integrated into it, and that actually slows the ball down. If you can center all of your force on this, you're going to have a really good serve. So the really great news is once you get this, you're going to be able to expand your serve in so many directions. You'll be able to hit a flatter serve, a slice serve, a kick serve, something, because your racket is used to going up with this edge. So if the ball toss is now over here, well, I can still go up with my edge. I can be very creative. There's a real feel to this edge going to the ball. And that's what we're trying to go for. So hopefully that clears up a little bit of the pronation thing for you guys. Tossmaster is incredibly helpful. A lot of people don't understand it. Basically, your ball toss needs to be accurate and it needs to be consistent. And unless you know where your ball is up in the air and recognize it that way and know how to get it there, nothing's going to happen well very often. So take a look at it. Everyone can use a Tossmaster, that's for sure. You can use it anywhere. I use it on the court a lot because you guys like to see stuff on the court. But it's really a practice tool for off of the court. All right, go pronate.